Hey guys, welcome to my video for this event. The wonderful Ashleigh Colours invited me to do a video for her colouring streamathon to celebrate her birthday. So happy birthday to the birthday girl. And the theme of Ashleigh's wonderful colour along is colour what makes you happy. Whether that's an artist, a book, a colouring supply, whatever makes you happy to colour or to colour with. It's a fantastic theme, so open to interpretation, and this weekend has been full of fun seeing just people, all the wonderful colourists, colouring what makes them happy. That's what colouring is all about, and it's so special. There's been some great colouring going on, and I'm excited to get started. When I thought about what I could colour, quite a few artists came to mind. Hannah Lynn, I love her cutesy style, and doing her pages always makes me happy. But I thought that what I would do is Kanoko Egusa. I absolutely adore Symphony of Cute Animals, which is what I've got here. And as it's September, the end of, I thought I would do a autumnal page, which is what I've got here. And it's got these really, really cute squirrels, and it's just really fun. Makes me happy. It's going to make me happy to colour. And I hope you're going to enjoy watching it. So, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to be using Prismacolors, mostly. First up, I have violet. I'm going to be doing this teensy tiny blackberry here. So I'm just going to base very lightly the berry. In violet. Try to get you center screened. And then I'm going to come in with black grape. So the light I'm thinking is coming from up here. So I'm going to be shadowing on this side, on the bottom. And in these like little crevices where the I think it's droops. I think that's what each section is called. Connect. Okay. Let me just quickly sharpen this. Okay, next up I have dark indigo. You could use the luminance as well. One of the few non-Prismacolors I've got. The reason I use a bit of blue is to add some coldness to the shadows, not too much, as I actually want this to be a warm page. But it always makes it look more realistic if you add shadows, colour to your shadows. The eye naturally picks up colours and shadows, albeit a camera usually can't. Okay. From there, I'm going to use greyed lavender. I have to thank the Vella's colouring. She's the one who gave me the original idea for this colour combo. It's inspired by hers. This is my take on it. So this is to blend out the black grape. I'm still leaving a bit of a white highlight. But I am going to come in with white as well. And this is for the very edges of the berry. You could also use a Posca. Then I've got what's remaining of my light fast black. You can use the Prismacolor PC935. And that's just to add a bit more depth to some of these shadows. And it doesn't undermine the dark indigo. It just adds more depth. Okay. There's another one down here, which is actually a bit bigger. So, violet again. I'm holding the pencil nice and far back. This is a very light pressure. Although blackberries are a very dark berry, as suggested by the name, they do have purple undertones. So when I'm colouring them, I sort of make them a bit more purple. Back with the black grape. So you want shadows where each section connects. In ones like this one, you want to leave a reflected highlight at the bottom. And down here where you can see that it's shadowed by other things, just go fully in with the colour. There won't be much reflection down there. So dark indigo to deepen. Obviously to do these berries is a time-consuming process. When you're doing each section individually like this, you don't have to put this much effort into it, but if you do, it does make the end result more realistic. Bit more black grape to blend. just a few of these darker sections. Now I've got greyed lavender again to smooth this all out. This is the same combination as I used on the mouse guard image that I did recently. I thought I would actually show the berries in this page. It gave you opportunity to. Colouring autumn elements is good fun at this time of the year. Okay, and now I'm actually going to bring out Black Grape. The reason I brought this colour out is it's a different colour to Black Cherry. It's a little bit warmer, and I randomly added to a few of the drupes just to give a sense of variation. Like perhaps they've not all ripened at the same time. Again, it helps to make it look more realistic. And then blend with white. Also helps when you're doing something this small to keep your pencils relatively sharp so they can get into all those crevices. Black. Like I said, the shadows are going to be darker down here where it's covered. By those flowers. And then if you want to, you can come back with the grape. You can play around with how you want this to look as much as you want. Just fiddle until you're happy. The paper in Kanoko's books takes layers really well, so there should be no problem of how much fiddling you want to do. Now very helpfully, right here, if I just move the page a bit more, there are blueberries. And that's what I'm going to do next. Love doing blueberries. Okay, first up I have light cerulean blue. Just like with the blackberry, let's start off with a very light layer. I then have Imperial Violet, and this I use now to plan where the shadows are being cast. And again, I think the light's coming from here. There's going to be shadows where these blueberries meet. Might also be a little bit of shadow here where sort of the stalk was. Okay. Now dark indigo comes back into play. The reason I don't use the indigo in the Prismacolors is it's not pigmented enough, it's not dark enough. And particularly for blueberries, it needs to be dark. Blend that out a bit with the Imperial Violet. Again, I'm leaving a reflected highlight. It's quite important for fruit because fruit is naturally shiny, especially like the berries. The reflected highlight is actually quite important. So I've got black again, just to deepen the edge, and that makes the reflected highlight look brighter at the same time. Then light cerulean blue again. Okay, that looks blended out enough. And white. The white really is the key to this actually, to get that smooth blend, mush all that pigment together, and to give the blueberry almost a waxy look. Back with Imperial Violet. Some more dark indigo to smooth this off. I have some more of the light cerulean blue. Each element is going to take, this is when you put in the time into each element, you're going to make everything just look so much more realistic. So let's carry on with these blueberries. So light cerulean blue, very light base. What you can also do is, if you want to suggest perhaps a not fully ripe blueberry, add some pale sage. Quite lightly. Let's add it at the top here. Okay. And it will look strange briefly, but we'll make it work now. This is the Imperial Violet again. Plan the shadows like you would for any orb. Dark indigo. And blueberries are definitely my favourites. They're my favourite berry to eat. I love blueberries in anything. Blueberry cake, blueberry muffins. On breakfast, they're a total superfood. They're one of the foods that is so tasty and yet it's good for you. That's quite rare. I appreciate that about the blueberry. Okay, that looks good. Back with the Imperial Violet. The reason I use the Imperial Violet is blueberries aren't entirely blue. There's actually quite a few colours to them. There's sort of undertones of purples and violets. This is light cerulean blue again. They're quite they're a multi-toned berry. Okay, so we have all of that based in. I've got white now. I use quite medium to hard pressure when I'm blending it with this white. To get all the pigment to work together. Okay, so I have black now to deepen this shadow. Dark indigo again. I think what's so wonderful about this event, not only, you know, to celebrate Ashleigh's fantastic birthday and the fact that she's giving something to the colouring community, but also to remind us that, yes, there's tags and things to follow to colour and colour-alongs, but what's most important is colouring something that does make us happy. And not colouring for the sake of colouring. It should never be a chore. So as you can see, just adding a bit of green there. Just suggests it's not right, but adds a little bit of variation. And just makes it look a bit more visually interesting. Don't have to do it, but that's just an idea. Because sometimes if you just colour for the sake of colouring, you put yourself into a colouring slump. You find you won't be inspired to colour. And you should be. It should be exciting. It should be inspiring. As you see, these blueberries are super easy to do. They don't use that many colours. You could technically do it with the indigo in the Prismas, but I would highly recommend either getting a light frost or the luminance dark indigo. It is such a good colour and so versatile. You just need to remember here to add the shadow being cast by that flower. one of the reasons that Kanoko's images make me happy is, not just because they're so cute, they're also relatively small. I mean, this book is square format, 30 by 30 centimeters, so it is actually relatively small. So the pages don't take too long. Well, unless you're me putting all the time into every single detail, in which case they take me longer. But you don't have to do that. That's just my crazy way of colouring. For people who want this book, you can get it in the UK. You can get it off Stationery Corner on Etsy. They are absolutely fantastic to deal with. You can also get it off Amazon Japan. That's about £10, $15 shipping to get it to UK or America. But it does come very quickly. Rachel and Sarah are a Japanese Etsy company. They also have it. However, I also have good news. Kanoko's books are being translated to English, and they are coming to Amazon. I've got her other two pre-ordered in English on Amazon, and they're supposed to be coming, I think it's May next year. So that should hopefully make them a bit easier to get. I mean, I highly recommend, if you like this kind of style, investing in one. If you want to try out her style on her website, I think she has a few freebie pages that you could try. You can print them off as PDFs. You could technically add Posca to these berries, but blueberries aren't super shiny. So that's why I'm not adding any Posca. I don't know if with the translations, if these sort of English printed books now are going to have different paper quality. The paper quality in these Japanese versions is, I don't know quite what you'd call this paper. It's not thick, it's not thin. It's somewhere in the middle. I've always thought it's quite nice quality paper. Certainly takes layers well. I find that it doesn't particularly like oil pencils. That's why I'm using wax. Prismas and Luminance work stunningly on it. So it'd be interesting to see, like I said, what these English translations might do with the paper. As some of the other more popular books, like Johanna's and Hannah Carlson's, they have different paper dependent on publisher. Well, I think again for this one, just to add that sense of variation, I may just add a little bit of the pale sage. Just a tiny bit. Alright, I think that's enough blueberries. I'm going to drive you nuts if I carry on just doing blueberries. I think these are gooseberries. Now, I actually grow gooseberries in my garden. Bit of an acquired taste. They're quite a sour berry. Let's see. I've got my colours picked out. I grow gooseberries and I was looking at cream. I was looking at reference photos, so I think I'm going to base it with cream first. They do have a yellowish undertone. And then I've got the pale sage again. Now they have bands. Let's try and get this right. You can also get red gooseberries. I'm going to do these as green. Lime peel. They're a very popular berry in Europe. Like I said, a bit of an acquired taste. They are very sharp, especially if they're not particularly ripe. Okay, then I think moss green. This combo I've made up on the spot. I'm briefly looking at a few photos of gooseberries. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. Now they do also have this yellowish undertone, so I have chartreuse. And then I think back with cream. I think that looks quite realistic. I don't know what you call it, but at the end it's like almost a bit of stalk. You put it off before you eat it. I've got bronze. For that bit. And I also have a bit of sepia. That's come out better than I was expecting. I did not try this out. This is you're witnessing this first time on camera. I did not try this earlier. So back with cream. A basic cream. Then pale sage. That's how I plan out the stripes. I'm hoping you can see that on camera. There isn't a huge difference in colour. Then lime peel. and then moss green. And I work sort of in lines, as gooseberries do sort of have a striation. And then blend them back over with cream. Because those lines that I've left are more yellowish. And then a hint of chartreuse. With bronze then, for that bit at the bottom. Alright. Well, I'm glad that worked on camera. What about, let's take a look, what about these flowers? These are blackberry flowers, I believe. Now they are typically white, but nothing is ever pure white. So, to do this, we're going to start with 10% cool grey. So they're actually going to have some shadow. Let me try and get this a bit more central. Where they meet the centre. Where they're covered by other petals. Let's get that a bit darker. This is 50% cool grey. Now I'm not going to use this particularly heavily. I want quite a light pressure. This is just to add more definition. Unsurprisingly, I'm going to use white. Let me just make sure it's clean from all that blending I've been doing. Don't want to drag pigment from one area to another that you don't want. This will also tone down the grey so it's not too dark. Alright, then you've got options to make this look a bit more realistic. Here I've got powder blue and deco pink. So, blackberry flowers do usually have very delicate hints of pink, which you probably can't even see on camera. Like I said, very delicate. But you can also use powder blue to get a sense of reflected colour from the blueberries. And again, that will blend out. Nothing white is ever pure white. There'll always be some kind of colour to it. For the centre, I've got cream and the yellow chartreuse. Sorry, just the chartreuse. This isn't yellow chartreuse. Back with the cream. I'll probably dull that down with a bit of white as well. I don't want it too bright. just heard my pencil drop. Let me go get that. Right. It wasn't damaged. Okay, 10% cool grey again. Let's do this flower. With the autumn months, I went to, we call it TK Maxx in the UK, but from what I've heard, it's called TJ Maxx in the USA. I do not know why it's a different letter. But I picked up autumn scented candles. I have all these pumpkin spice scented candles and chicory, and they smell delicious. I love the autumn scents. All those warm nutmeg tones, and pumpkin spice and apple. They're really nice. And because it gets darker quicker, having a candle on. It's just so cozy. I like the fall decorations. You know, fake pumpkins and fake leaves, autumn leaves. Autumn wreath on the door. I'm not hugely into Halloween, but I do like the autumn. So we are getting elements done here. I return back to a normal zoom. You can see that's coming along bit by bit. Let's take a look. What do I want to do next? If I bring this back in. For the gooseberry stem, this is bronze. Sepia. This is moss green. When doing a page with lots of elements like this, to help keep it cohesive and working well together, yes, you want everything to look realistic, so it needs to have its realistic colours, but try to take colours from one element to the next. So like I've used a dark indigo on the blueberries and the blackberries. White has been used on almost everything. This is bronze again. And that just helps keep things cohesive and helps the picture work as a whole. Which is always tricky when there are just so many elements. This is sepia again, which I actually think I need to sharpen. And if you really want to, you can add black where you think it might need a bit more contrast. Alright, so what about this leaf here? If you saw my one of my latest tutorials, that was for doing autumn leaves, and we're going to use the same combo as it is another bramble leaf. Let me just sharpen my jasmine. Here in the UK, it is definitely autumn. The leaves are falling like anything. You sweep the drive, 5 minutes later it's covered in leaves. The wind's picked up as well, so. I don't have a leaf blower, so old-fashioned method for me of doing it by hand. Then I have sap green light. And you want the edges of the leaves to be uneven, because the chlorophyll is absorbed at a different rate in different parts of the leaves. So you can be as loose in the interpretation of that as you want. That just helps get it, just the more irregular it is, the more realistic will just look. Okay, mineral orange. There are no straight lines in nature. That's the key to remember. So try to be sort of as organic with line work as possible. Pumpkin orange. And the deepest colours will be around here in the middle vein of the leaf. Sepia. Again, I'm taking one colour and using it in lots of places. I'm following these veins a bit as well. I have Pearline Brown, but just use Tuscan Red. One of the things I love about autumn now as it's rolling in, it's getting darker quicker, which is a bit sad, loss of daylight, but it means, I don't know, there's just something about, you just want to be cozy. It's almost like you sort of go to human hibernation, and I've been doing movie marathons on Disney Plus. I've been going through all the Marvel films, which I have never watched before. Shocker, I know. I'm coming back with lime peel. So I've been watching those on Disney Plus, snuggled up in a blanket. Usually something warm and chocolatey. And it's just the perfect self-care routine. I've been enjoying it. Jasmine again to blend there. I'll grab some pumpkin spice as well. I love pumpkin spice. I have packets of pre-made pumpkin spice that I can put in bakes and drinks. Just so cozy. You could technically make this leaf green. You don't have to do autumnal colours. I'm just doing autumnal colours because this to me seems like a very autumnal page. And also the squirrels, I'm thinking of actually making red squirrels. So again, when I talk about cohesiveness, I'd be taking a lot of these reds and browns to use in those squirrels. And autumn leaves would work nicely with that. Sometimes it can be helpful. A lot of pages you just want to dive right in, but if you actually think about how you want the end result to look, it can help you plan some of the colours. Moss green. I'm not saying you need to plan all the colours and down to every last colour, but sometimes having a plan, again, especially where you've got so many elements on the page, can be really, really useful. And although, you know, colouring is all about fun and happiness, you know, that is the total goal of colouring. You do not have, you don't have to plan, you don't have to think, you can just dive in with colours. But sometimes it can get stressful, there might be too many pencils out, or I don't know, it can get stressful just thinking about the colours. This is bronze. So having somewhat of a plan can take some of the stress out of it. If you plan beforehand, then you think less when you're colouring, so you can get absorbed into it more, I find. And this is Jasmine again. I mean, that's why sometimes it's really relaxing to either copy an artist's interpretation of an image, or sometimes you get a book where, like the Forest Girl, you have the artist's image next to the colouring page, and that makes it so much easier. And you don't have to think about colours at all. You just pick whatever closely resembles to what's in the artist's version. I don't want to think about how long this leaf has taken me. I'm sorry if I'm boring you with the leaf. But I probably will leave the leaf there. I think that actually looks decent. Yeah, I'm happy with that leaf, so I will step away from the leaf. And figure out what to do next. So I think I will be picking out colours, and I will be right back doing more elements. Right, I am back with some fresh colours, and we're going to do this gorgeous little ladybug here. So I've gone and picked out now some Prismacolor reds, and we're going to start with pale vermilion. So the light coming down from here, ladybugs are obviously very shiny shells, so I'm going to leave a white highlight at the top as I plan in where I want the colour. So I'm lightly basing this out as I want to plan where that highlight is hitting. By going lightly, it's also going to be easier to blend this out with some white. I'm going to go over a second layer, increase the pressure just a bit. Just to deepen that colour. And I've got white again. And that's going to set the highlight. Then I've got Crimson Lake to deepen this colour. I'm not going to go all the way up. I want this darker red more down here, where it would be shadowed, more shadowed. I'm not quite sure what a ladybug is doing on quite an autumnal page. They hibernate in the fall, but it looks cute even if it isn't technically accurate. Right, okay. Peridine brown, just use Tuscan red. I'm not going to use a ton of this. Even though they're shiny, ladybugs don't have a ton of contrast. So I'm not going to push it too far. And don't worry about going to the spots, they're going to be black anyway. You could technically also make this a yellow ladybug. We have those in Britain. They're very pretty. Poppy red. I have seen one once. This is to blend out those darker reds into the pale vermilion. I'm going to come back with the pale vermilion. And back with some more white. Then I've got the powder blue again. And you can add a bit of that to the edges and reflected light. Just to add a bit more realism. For the spots, I've got 70% cool grey. Because these two top spots here, they should have a little bit of highlight themselves. So then I've got black. Ladybugs are absolutely amazing insects to have in your garden. I've got 50% cool grey now. For eating pests, black fried greenfly, protect the roses. In Britain at least, you can actually buy ladybugs off the internet. You can buy like a colony to release into your garden so they can protect the plants baiting all the aphids. Very cool bugs. And I've got white again. I'm going to come back in with that black. Like I said, I only want a slight highlight. You don't have to do a highlight, you can do them all in black. I was just going for a teensy bit of realism there. Okay, so I've got the 50% cool grey again. As far as I'm aware, the head here will be black. It's going to have a curving highlight, and that's why I start off with grey. I'm pretty sure these spots here are white. The legs and the antennae are pretty small, so you can just use Posca for highlights on there. Then I've got 70% cool grey again. Let me give that a sharpen for these legs. That is the one thing about Kanoko's books, is some of the details are so teensy tiny. So sharp pencils can be a must. Right, here's the black now. So what's the point of doing all the greys if I'm just going to go over with black? Basically, it gives a base layer for the black. It makes the black look more solid once it goes on top. And you can plan out better. If you go straight down with black, but need to adjust something, it's almost impossible to erase. Whereas if you go lightly with grey, you can. You can erase the grey if necessary. So I'm going to blend this highlight out. I've got 50% cool grey here. And it does add a bit of colour to that black as well. Very few things are true black. You know, there's always going to be colour there. 50% again. And then white. And then that powder blue again. For these little white spots, I'll just add a teensy bit of 50% cool grey. And blend that out with the white. Okay, Posca time. Give that a bit of a shake. Let's see. Should be a bit of a reflected highlight this side. I'm breaking up the highlight lines. Do a long line, short line, a dot. That helps with making a highlight look more realistic. Dot the tops of the antennae. There we go. Look at that, I managed to do an element in less than 10 minutes. Okay, so let's do another leaf. Let's do this kind of leaf here. I'm not sure what kind of leaf this is, but we're going to use the colours that we previously used. So I have pale sage again. And we're going to do a light base of pale sage. I'm thinking of making these leaves basically all green. I don't think I'm going to make them that brown, but they are going to be a duller green. Backward line peel. And these are always darker in the centre and lighter out to the edge, unless they're shadowed by another leaf or something. like here, this leaf is shadowed by this petal, which is just something to take into account. And then I've got moss green again. Moss green in Prismacolor is very similar to the one in Luminance. You can use either. And again, getting those irregular shapes in the leaves does help to make them look more organic. I have lime peel to blend that out. The thing to remember with autumnal leaves is how much duller they are. I mean, if you're doing tropical leaves, you're immediately going to go for the chartreuses, spring greens, peacock greens, everything bright. But for natural sort of looking autumnal leaves, you want much more muted greens, dirty greens, good old dirty greens. 70% French grey, which is great for shading green and yellow. I love using French grey to shade both of these colours. It's a brownish green, brownish grey. Works really nicely. French greys come in almost any colouring set, so they're not that hard to find either. Faber-Castell, Polychromos as French greys. They call them warm greys, but they're more like French greys. Okay, that's looking nice. I have sepia as well. So I'm keeping those browns when I'm doing this. The browns really do help to make it work. Bronze. Obviously wouldn't be doing that if it was spring leaves, but these are leaves on the edge of turning. I just want a light hint of bronze. Back with lime peel. I'm going to go quite lightly now. Just add colour to that edge. I could go out with pale sage, but I'm tempted to go with cream. You could use sand and jasmine too. Like I said, I want to make a suggestion that these are turning. That's why I've picked a slightly lighter yellow. This is bronze again, if I want to re-emphasize any of that. And speaking of emphasis, I will add a very gentle amount of black here underneath that petal. which I'll then blend out with the 70% French grey, just to indicate that there is a shadow there. And that is clearly laying on top of that. So I think that looks quite nice. I've also got now some luminance here. Because I have a very nice brown combination that I think I'm going to use for the basket. You can easily swap these out for Prismacolor. I've just got luminance. First one I'm going to start with is Primrose. Let me just twist this a bit. I'm just going to add a very light base. It's probably not even going to come up on camera. It's quite a light yellow. Then I've got 10% brown ochre. Love this colour. It's very, very unique to the luminance. I'm trying to go for a pale brown to make this look like a woven basket. I'm not sure what they're usually made from. I mean, they can be any colour really, but as I've got quite dark colours going on for a lot of the rest of the page, I thought I'd make the basket light to make it a bit of a contrast. But you can do whatever kinds of browns you want. Then I have brown ochre 50%. And with these colours all just being different percentages of each other, they blend so perfectly well. Really don't have to put much effort into blending them. I think there's going to be a slight shadow, not all the way around, but around here, around the front, from where the ladybug, we call them ladybirds in the UK, is going to be. And that's just from what I can see of the position. Then I have just brown ochre. So it comes to the weave. It's going to be most shadowed where the wood is weaving over one another. I'm also following for some shadow lines, the lines that have been put in the illustration. This edge should also be more shadowed. Okay, and then if you really want to emphasize the shadows, come back in with, I've got the Prismacolor sepia here. There we go. You can also use the Luminance sepia. I just have the Prismacolor on hand. And then we can blend that back out with the brown ochre. That's going to be quite a harsh shadow, the cast one there, so it doesn't matter that it's quite a harsh line. Cast shadows usually are. quite harsh. This is back with the 50%. And then 10%. Now wood is quite a matte surface, so there's no point in leaving white highlights. I've also got good old buff titanium to burnish this out. You could also use the primrose. The reason that I add the primrose as a base is to give it a yellowish tone to warm it up a bit. So this part of the weave gets a bit trickier. It's quite hard to see where everything goes. This is the edge of the blanket here, I believe. Which makes all of that the weave. I'm trying to figure out elements like this. Just take your time. Just figure out where everything's going slowly. That's why base colours can be so useful. Just go lightly. If you base the wrong element, you can literally just erase it and put a different colour on top. This is the 10% brown ochre. You know, that's just, you know, you've got things like weaves in baskets, on jumpers. There's lots of things that can have a pattern. And it can be quite tricky to figure out. But don't panic, just take your time. This is all going to be cast in shadow from the handle. So I've got brown ochre. For that shadow. Shadow down here. They're not going to be particularly large shadows. That one I think is going to be all in shadow. Bit there. Just literally go slowly. And do it section by section, don't treat it as a whole. If you treated this whole basket, it can get intimidating. Just do it bit by bit. On a page like this with so many elements, by doing it just one bit at a time, it helps break it down. Yes, you might end up with 60 odd pencils out, but you can swap between each part so it never becomes repetitive or boring. This is the 50%. And sometimes, you know, it can be good to step back from an element for a while. Especially if it's confusing, it's getting all twisted and all a bit twisted in your eyes. So this is 10%. And this is buff titanium. And then once you've actually done the whole thing, you can come back, you can then treat it as a whole. If you think that some sections need more shadow or more of a certain colour. But treat it as individual elements first. Okay, so this is the 10%. As you can see, I'm not trying to put any wood effect on this. It's too small. Now I'm going to adjust this already because I've just thought this blanket now is going to be shadowing the interior of the basket. Because that's what this is. Actually, this whole bottom row should actually be more shadowed. Which is fine, just come on, extra layers of pencil. Right, that's better. This is full brown ochre. Now I've got the sepia. As you can see, I'm keeping the sepia very close to whatever I think is casting the shadow, because I still want this to read as a light wood. If I bring the sepia out too far, it will look like a dark wood, which is not what I want. This is 50% brown ochre again. And that's why I particularly love this combo from the Luminance, is it is a lovely light brown. I use it quite often. Okay, so it gets trickier once again down here. So let's try and figure this out. This is primrose again to base. We're now seeing a different angle yet again of the basket. This is the bottom edge. Right. All of that is baskets. Okay, so this is 50% brown ochre. Alright, well this here is going to be shadowed. This edge here, where it's covered by that one, it's going to have a slight shadow. Same goes for this end. This is the part right by the blanket, so I want that in shadow completely. If this is a sort of strip of wood of the weave, I think this is meant to be the top edge, as if the wood was on its side. So I actually think that one would be fully in shadow here. I'm going to make that one fully in shadow because I think these are coming out more, and this helps get this woven effect of some of the weave is deeper than other out parts. Okay, I'm going to start with that. Figuring this out live on camera is more tricky than I was expecting. Alright, this is fully brown ochre. This is me being ambitious on camera, and I'm sorry if I go a bit quiet. It's because I'm trying to show you how to do this properly without messing it up. At the end of the day, it's only a basket, you can't really mess it up. But I'm trying to make it look good. Okay. Let me just give this sepia a sharpen. Some of those make quite tight places. And like I said, I'm not making particularly big shadows. Just to make it look, I'm just trying to make it look like the wood is just overlapping. That's basically what I'm trying to achieve. It's actually a pretty tricky effect. But you could actually take this, if your page for some reason had a pie on it, a lattice pie, this is the exact, basically same kind of method. Actually, if you have experience making lattice pies, that would probably help. I, unfortunately, have never made a lattice pie. I have seen them on the Great British Bake Off. I know what they're supposed to look like. Oh, this is brown ochre again. But I'm just taking this off the top of my head. Kanoko's skill in drawing this is absolutely incredible. Yeah, it might be a bit tricky to colour, but to actually be able to draw something this good with this lattice, oh my gosh. Super impressive. 10%. And then buff titanium. All right, take a look. That's the basket effect. I haven't got time to start a new element, so I think I'll probably just continue doing a bit more of this basket weave. But as I've shown quite a few bits I'm hoping that you can transfer to your own autumnal pages. And I hope this it's been awfully fun for me, and I hope that you've been able to learn something from it. And the wonderful Shell is on after me. I'm sure she's going to be doing an absolutely beautiful page. So I'll just do one last section quickly. But this has been a great fall blast. So honoured that Ashleigh asked me to do this. It's been lovely doing a new Kanoko page. I haven't done one in quite a while. And I'll finish off all the elements myself, but if I figure out the squirrel fur colour, I may be able to film that. We'll see. Depends how well it goes. I can figure out one of the squirrels successfully. I'm still not sure if I want them red or grey. Red would make more sense. Final bit of 10%. titanium. Alright, and I will zoom back out. Okay, that is all I've got time for. I hope you've enjoyed me doing this wonderful page. I've enjoyed doing all these elements, and I hope it was useful. That you go out, colour some berries, colour some leaves, maybe find yourself a ladybug. Ashleigh is up next. The link to the streamer schedule is down below in the description, and there's also a link directly to her channel. So I will hopefully catch up on everybody's wonderful, happy colouring. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye.